5 radar markings change course simultaneously. Not 1, not 2, but 5. And all of them point directly toward a U.S. Navy strike group. It's 5:17 a.m. local time. Inside the aircraft carrier's Combat Command Center, the lighting is dim, the screens glow with real-time data, and voices are kept under control. The ship is sailing steadily at 21 knots, its bow slicing through calm water as if the ocean were its own, or perhaps it's on flight operation scheduled for 30 minutes. All clear on the sensors, absolutely nothing out of the ordinary until it isn't. Multiple contacts are altering course simultaneously. The air interception controller leans toward his screen. The bearing changes confirm it beyond a doubt. That group of aircraft that had been flying parallel to the strike group, maintaining a safe distance, is no longer maintaining any distance at all. New heading, 090 direct. Altitude, 24,000 feet, speed, 480 knots and climbing. Identification, Iranian Air Force. MiG-29 full chrome fired. No communications on civilian frequencies, no chatter on any channel. Absolute silence. The tactical action officer doesn't even raise his voice. Record the vector change. Confirm intent. That's how this works, no drama, no shouting, surgical professionalism. The carrier's SP-1 radars refine the image, and the 5 returning aircraft compress into a very deliberate geometry, 4 in a head-on line, 1 trailing in an elevated position. This isn't weather drift, this isn't navigational correction, this is offensive formation discipline. Range, 82 nautical miles. Closing rate increasing. Estimated interception time at current speed, 9 minutes. The controller announces it without any inflection. Data, just data. Up on deck, 2 F/18 Super Hornets await on alert level 5. The crews are already strapped into their seats, helmets on, systems ready. The maintenance chiefs fall back when the launch signal is transmitted. Nobody runs, nobody wastes a single movement. In this world, efficiency isn't a virtue, it's survival. And meanwhile, the Iranian formation accelerates. 520 knots. The E-2D Hawkeye, orbiting at 27,000 feet, confirms something crucial. The contacts are descending. Angeles 19. And that matters a great deal. A parallel flight at high altitude might be observation, passive surveillance, curiosity on wings, but the descent narrows the possibilities for intent. When you descend, you're making a decision. The aircraft carrier maintains its course. That's doctrine. A U.S. Navy aircraft carrier doesn't flinch. Establish Condition 3. The TOW orders launch Alert 5. Inside the hangar. Weapons teams secure loose equipment. On the escort destroyers. AEGX systems transition from passive tracking to engagement quality solutions. Vertical launch cells remain closed. Weapons secure but ready. There's a huge difference between not being ready and choosing not to fire yet. Here, we're at the latter. At 64 nautical miles, electronic support measures detect radar emissions. N019 slot back. Iranian fire control radars have activated. They are not locked on, they are searching. Sweeping. Standard interception. Display. Standard interception. Display presence without escalation unless firm lock is detected. Catapults fire. Steam erupts from the deck. The first Super Hornet comes out clean, afterburners glinting against the pale morning sky. The second follows seconds later. Both climb aggressively to 25 Angels, noses pointed directly at the approaching formation, and the MiGs keep coming. 58 nautical miles. The Hawkeye recalculates vectors. The fulcrums now descend to 15 Angels. That altitude puts them closer to a transition to attack profile if they so choose. It's not an innocent number. The strike group subtly adjusts its geometry. The cruiser slides 2 degrees to port. A destroyer increases speed to close the defensive screen spacing. No dramatic turns, no visible reaction from the carrier island. Professional restraint. Every move calculated to the millimeter. 41 nautical miles. The U.S. fighters establish radar contact. Tali 5, Fulcrum Group confirmed. The Super Hornets maintain altitude advantage. UMRA missiles armed but cold. No fire control engagement initiated. Not yet. The Iranian formation changes again. 2 aircraft spread to the left, 2 to the right, or 1 remains high on the center line. Offensive deployment. 33 nautical miles. No radio call from the Iranian side. No identification transmission. Only speed and silence. On the carrier's flight deck, sailors glance at the sky as faint silhouettes form against the horizon. The U.S. seamounts rotate fractionally. Just enough to signal they're ready. Their engines hum gently as they enter holding alignment. Machines that don't feel nerves, just perform their functions. The tactical action officer watches as the geometry converges. Record all emissions, he says quietly. 27 nautical miles. Iranian radar intensity increases. A MiG dips its nose down. 12,000 feet. Possible simulated attack rehearsal. The Super Hornet leader maintains a steady course without aggressive maneuvers. Confidence projects power. You don't need to move when you know you have the advantage. 20 nautical miles. We're now completely within the beyond visual range missile envelopes. If either side commits to a firm engagement, the time frames for combat are reduced to seconds. And when we talk about seconds in this context, we're talking about the difference between a diplomatic incident and World War III. The Intercept controller broadcasts on guard frequency to Iranian aircraft if they are approaching U.S. naval forces in international airspace. Maintain safe separation. No response. Iranian silence. Such. What a surprise. 15 nautical miles. The 5 fulcrums descend again. Angels 10. Tight formation. The carrier holds steady at 21 knots. No course change, no climb, just constant tracking. 12 nautical miles. For the first time, the American pilots can see them clearly. Twin vertical stabilizers, gray camouflage, and Iranian roundels gleaming in the morning light. The distance keeps collapsing within the combat direction center. No one is talking about worst-case scenarios. They don't need to. Every man and woman in that space fully understands what 5 houses closing in on an aircraft carrier means, and they keep coming. If you're new to this channel, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because here we analyze what no one else dares to break down in this level of detail. 5:23 local time, distance 27 nautical miles. The geometry tightens within the zigzag. Every screen is clean. Every return crisp. The 5 MiG-29s no longer drift within a wide patrol arc. They are pointed, deliberate, compressed. Iranian group maintaining vector 090. The Intercept controller confirms. Speed 520 knots. The E-2D Hawkeye updates altitude. Yes. Fulcrum. Now, Angel 12 descending. That descent changes the equation completely. At that altitude, the radar clatter against the sea surface increases. Missile response times shorten. Reaction windows compress like a spring. The 2 Super Hornets level off with Angel 22, slightly offset to the west of the carrier's bow. They are now the visible barrier between the approaching 5 ships and the entire strike group. No weapons engaged, but every system armed and awake. At 24 nautical miles, the Iranian formation splits. 2 aircraft open to the left, widening the separation. 2 move to the right. 1 remains high on the center line. A wedge transforming into a pincer. The tactical action officer watches expressionlessly. Mark formation division. Possible envelopment rehearsal. No one speculates beyond that. They register, they track, they calculate. That's all that's done here. Chal feelings have no assigned screen. 21 nautical miles. Electronic support measures are triggered. Iranian radar sweep with increased intensity. The electronic warfare officer announces N-019, operating at higher power. That's no longer a wide search, it's a focused scan. The difference between sweeping the horizon and targeting something specific. And they just crossed that line. The Super Hornet lead pilot keeps his home steady. Now he sees them with total clarity, dark gray silhouettes against a pale horizon. Faint but visible condensation trails. 5 contacts visually confirmed. He reports combat dispersion with no visible change in external loads, no missiles separating, no smoke trails. Still 18 nautical miles. The first radar spike hits a sharp tone inside the American cockpit. Spike, bearing 085. The search radar briefly transitions to tracking mode and isn't a full-on weapons quality engagement, but it's dangerously close. Inside the carrier's sea, the event is reported instantly. Full-ROM 1 painting the Hornet leader. Duration, 1 second. The tactical action officer nods once. They're probing, testing nerves, gauging reaction times, playing chess with fighter jets at supersonic speeds. 15 nautical miles. Now completely within the B-1BR missile envelope. At this range, an R-77 launch would reach its target in under 40 seconds. The Super Hornets hold formation, they don't break. Breaking signals fear. Fear in avoid escalation, so they stay exactly where they are. The Intercept controller transmits again. Iranian military aircraft are approaching U.S. naval forces operating lawfully in international airspace. Maintain safe separation. Silence. Again. The Iranians apparently brought neither radios nor manners. 13 nautical miles. The elevated MiG descends 2,000 feet, aligning with the 4 below. The 5 aircraft are now flying nearly level at Angels 10, Unified Wedge, 11 nautical miles. The deck crews pause their duties. From the flight deck, the MiGs are now distinguishable shapes. Twin tails, swept wings, fast. The CWS mounts rotate fully to crawl posture. The subtle mechanical hum is heard across the deck. Automatic and unemotional. 9 nautical miles. Iranian formation compressing, reports the Hawkeye. Range decreasing rapidly. The lead Super Hornet adjusts 2 degrees to starboard, positioning itself directly between the carrier's mikes and bow. That move is small, but absolutely deliberate. The message needs no translation. If they want the carrier, they come through us first. 8 nautical miles. Another spike, this one stronger. The lead Hornet receives intermittent tracking lock. 2 seconds sustained. Inside the CIC. The lock-on clocks are ticking mentally. 2 seconds. 3 seconds is usually the threshold between probing and actual engagement. But it breaks. The lock drops. 7 nautical miles. The right Iranian element drops further. Angels 8. Left element maintains Angels 10. The center aircraft climbs slightly, maintaining superior watch position. Layered pressure from above and below. Tactics that look good in the manual. Let's see how they work against a strike group that has spent decades perfecting defense in depth. 6 nautical miles. The carrier follows at 21 knots, no turns, no acceleration. That restraint is entirely intentional. A sudden maneuver can be misinterpreted as preparation for launch, and misinterpretations start wars. Here, Discipline isn't passivity, it's the most sophisticated form of communication. 5 nautical miles. Close enough for visual detail without optics, the pilots can see cockpit canopies, hull reflections, control surfaces, adjusting in real time. The Iranian lead aircraft dips its nose briefly, adjusting angle of attack geometry, then levels off again, testing reaction. The Super Hornet pilot does absolutely nothing. No flares, no defensive brake, still as a rock at 0. 85 ACH. That requires a special kind of nerves of steel. For nautical miles, and the cruiser's Aegis systems are continuously computing firing solutions. The vertical launch cells remain sealed. Weapons safe. But the solution is there, waiting for an order no one wants to give, but everyone is ready to execute. 3.5 nautical miles. The MiGs accelerate slightly. The afterburners flicker momentarily. Shock diamonds flash orange. The sea surface below ripples from the engine jets. 3 nautical miles. Say this is knife-edge combat range in modern air warfare. A missile fired here would reach its target in less than 20 seconds. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the tactical action officer speaks with surgical calm. If the firm engagement holds, we climb. No one asks how. They already know, too. 8 nautical miles. The 5 MiGs. Wings are compressed even further, almost overlapping. A display of flying discipline, a display of nerve. Ah, you have to give them credit for that, at least. 5 nautical miles. The Iranian formation initiates a subtle turn, not outward, but inward, toward the bow of the aircraft carrier. The distance collapses, and the sky is very quiet. 5:26, local time. Range 2. 5 nautical miles. The Iranian leader tips sharply to the left. The afterburner ignites in a sudden flash of incandescent orange, and the MiG-29 slices across the nose of the Super Hornet leader at less than 1,000 yards. Fast, close, completely intentional. Inside the American cockpit, the pilot remains calm. No defensive brake, no flare deployment, no aggressive climb, he holds his course as if a particularly bold seagull had just flown past. Confidence projects control, and this pilot has control to spare. The second MiG replicates the maneuver on the opposite side, crossing wide but equally close. The 2 outer aircraft stretch the American interception line for an instant, testing reaction times, searching for cracks in composure. The 3 remaining fulcrums compress behind them. Altitude now. Angels 8. The reflection of the sea glimmers beneath their wings. Inside the carrier's command and control room. Every move is tracked. To the decimal point. Leading MiG crossing at 1,000 yards from Hornet 1. Starboard element displaced 2,000 yards. Center aircraft descending further. Angel 6. And that descent matters enormously. Angel 6 puts a home aircraft closer to a low-level transition. A missile fired from that altitude shortens the radar warning time and reduces the defensive engagement window. You're basically slashing the margin of error to almost nothing. The tactical action officer watches the center trail intensely. Mark center aircraft. Possible simulated attack profile. At 1 nautical miles from the carrier perimeter, the Iranian center aircraft rolls inverted. The maneuver is smooth, deliberate. Then it dives, nose down, fast. For 2 seconds, its flight path is directly aligned with the carrier's forward deck. Inside the Super Hornet cockpit, the radar warning receiver flashes red, engagement tone firm, no search, no intermittent sweep, and full fire control quality engagement. Time from lock to potential missile launch at this range. Less than 4 seconds. The American pilot moves his right hand closer to the throttle stop. His left thumb rests near the weapon selector, but he doesn't fire. He holds. The lock is held for a long second. Then 2. The Combat Direction Center is silent except for the tone relayed over the tactical network. Say if it holds for 3 seconds, we escalate. The 3rd second never comes. The lock drops. The dove-crawling MiG levels out at 1,000 feet above the waterline, skimming at high speed over the bow of the aircraft carrier. Shock waves ripple the ocean's surface. From the flight deck, sailors feel the vibration before they fully process the movement overhead. Loose mooring chains rattle or a pile of light equipment shifts slightly before being caught by the deck crew. The fulcrum roars past, climbing sharply after crossing the bow, no missile, no cannon fire, just raw proximity, a very noisy calling card. The 4 remaining mics simultaneously widen their spacing. The left element breaks outward by 5 degrees. The right mirrors it. The tall aircraft climbs back to 10 angels. Coordinated, not chaotic. No, this wasn't loss of control, it was choreography, it must be said. As an air show, it wasn't bad. As a military provocation against a U.S. Navy carrier strike group, well, let's just say it required more courage than common sense. The 2 Super Hornets instantly reposition themselves, gliding back between the Iranian houses and the carrier's projected trajectory. Their radars remain active, AMRAAM rails aligned and ready. And inside the cruiser's Aegis compartment, engagement solutions are recalculated in real time. Had a missile been launched from an Iranian rail, interceptors would have followed within seconds. The vertical launch cells remain sealed, weapons still cold, but every solution is ready to be executed with a word. Range now 1. 8 nautical miles from the carrier's bow at the point of closest approach. That distance carries weight. Below 2 nautical miles, or a supersonic missile, leaves virtually no window of reaction. We're talking margins measured in heartbeats. The tactical action officer speaks calmly over the internal network. Document close approach. Confirm. No weapons release. Confirmed. No missile separation. No cannon fire observed. Over the carrier. The Iranian high element traces a wide arc and rejoins the formation. 5 aircraft now turning east, not attacking, disengaging. The Super Hornets shadow at a distance, careful not to pursue aggressively. The mission remains deterrence, not domination, because pursuit can transform a disengagement into a second round that no one needs. The distance increases slowly, 2 miles. Then 3. Electronic support measures confirm that radar emissions are decreasing. N019 power levels are reducing with no fire control engagement detected, and the carrier maintains its course. 21 knots, no turning, no acceleration. That stability is entirely intentional. In high-stakes intercepts, a sudden maneuver can be misinterpreted as hostile readiness. Holding firm forces the other side to reveal its intentions. First and foremost, it's naval chess, and the United States has been playing this game longer than most of these air forces have existed. 50 nautical miles of separation. The Iranian formation reforms into close echelon. Altitude, Angels 12 and climbing. The afterburners flash briefly, pushing them eastward. No radio transmission, no acknowledgement, just silent departure. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the engagement clock stops. Duration from first firm engagement to disengagement, less than 30 seconds. Duration from initial descent to closest pass, 3 minutes 14 seconds. Total time within the critical envelope, less than 5 minutes. And the tactical action officer closes the immediate threat log. Carrier safe. Continue in shadow to 40 nautical miles. No applause, no visible relief, just quiet professionalism, because everyone within that space understands the margin. At 2 nautical miles, with 2 seconds of sustained radar engagement, the difference between demonstration and detonation is the thickness of a razor blade, and this time no one crossed it. 5 o'clock local time, range increasing, 5 nautical miles. The Iranian formation maintains eastward heading, climbing through Angels 12. The post-emergency lights flash once and go out. The geometry that had been compressed so intensely moments ago now spreads out into standard crew spacing. Inside the Combat Command Center, no one relaxes. Not yet. Maintain tracking, don't assume complete disengagement, the tactical action officer says in a steady tone. Because in this business, assumptions kill. The two Super Hornets remain positioned between the fulcrums and the carrier's projected trajectory. Their radars are still active, weapons armed, safeties intact. Electronic support measures continue to register emissions. NU-019 power output decreasing, the electronic warfare officer reports. Fire control mode, no longer detected. And that matters a lot. Search radar can be posture. Fire control radar is intent. When that mode disappears, the temperature drops several degrees at 7 nautical miles, the tall Iranian element drifts slightly above the others, maintaining superior surveillance altitude. The four below stabilize at 15 Angels. No aircraft breaks formation without sudden turns toward the strike group. Still, every bearing change is meticulously recorded. The cruiser's Aegis suite continues to automatically calculate interception solutions. Even as the distance grows, the traces of engagement quality remain firm. The vertical launch cells remain closed. The missiles remain cool, but the system doesn't forget. The system never forgets. 10 nautical miles. The Hawkeye orbiting high above. Recalculates engagement. Fulcrum group accelerating east. Speed 550 knots. Increasing separation. The carrier maintains 21 knots without pursuit. That restraint is deliberate. Pursuit can transform disengagement into escalation, and the U.S. Navy doesn't need to chase anyone to demonstrate who controls these waters. The Super Hornet's lead pilot taps the tactical frequency. Iranian aircraft departing east with no additional hostile maneuver observed. He doesn't thank them, he doesn't provoke, he simply states facts. That's the standard. From the flight deck, the MiGs are now silhouettes shrinking against the morning mist. The deck crews resume controlled movement, securing mooring lines, resetting catapult vapor pressure, confirming armament status, but their eyes are still scanning the horizon. The muscle memory of the last few minutes isn't so easily erased. 12 nautical miles. The tactical action officer reviews the entire timeline. Closest approach to the carrier, 6 nautical miles. Firm radar lock duration, 2 seconds sustained. No observed weapons release. The numbers are accurate, accuracy matters. And in modern air confrontations, perception can travel faster than missiles. Logs and recordings determine the narrative as much as maneuvers. And in the court of international opinion, data is ammunition. 15 nautical miles. The electronic warfare officer confirms final radar fade. Iranian emissions now intermittent, probably transitioning to cruise mode. Show's over. The strike group geometry loosens slightly. The destroyer reduces speed back to standard screen spacing. The CWS mounts slow down from full alert. The faint mechanical hum fades across the deck. The machinery breathes 20 nautical miles. The Hawkeye maintains watch until the fulcrums cross 40 nautical miles of separation. That standard shadow protocol, not invented today, but perfected over decades. Inside the IC, the tension unwinds incrementally, not with visible relief, but with silent normalization. Logs are time-stamped, broadcast signatures are filed, video transmissions are stored. Every second of the interception has been recorded from multiple angles, radar, infrared, video or cockpit, deck cameras. The data becomes a deterrent because the next time someone asks what happened, there will be a high-definition answer. At 25 nautical miles, the Super Hornets initiate gradual repositioning, they do not aggressively pursue. They maintain offset tracking, signaling awareness without harassment. Professional distance. This is how it's done when you're the most powerful navy on the planet. 30 nautical miles. Fulcrum now Angels 18, continuing east, no further deviation. Confirms Hawkeye. The tactical action officer nods once. Return cap to standard orbit. Maintain aerial picture. The Super Hornets climb smoothly and widen their turn, returning to the established combat air patrol lines above the strike group. The carrier never altered its course. That fact carries enormous weight. Holding course under pressure communicates resolve. It signals that intimidation will not redirect operations, not today, not tomorrow, not ever. 40 nautical miles. And the Iranian radar image fades into standard air traffic beyond the immediate envelope. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the immediate threat clock shuts down for good. Duration of critical interception window, 12 minutes 41 seconds. Time within the 2 nautical mile envelope, less than 60 seconds. Number of weapons launched, 0. The tactical action officer issues the final internal call. Strike group safe. Resume standard posture. No applause, no victory announcement, just a disciplined restart. This is what real professionalism does. It doesn't need fanfare. Up on deck, flight operations resume as scheduled. A scheduled training draw is launched at 6:10. The flight deck choreography returns to its routine rhythm. The engines throttle, the vapor pressure stabilizes, routine returns, but nothing about the last 12 minutes was routine, because at 2 nautical miles, with 2 seconds of sustained radar lock, the difference between demonstration and detonation had narrowed to a margin measured in heartbeats. This time the separation increased, this time the disengagement held, and the aircraft carrier continued onward unchanged. 5:41 a.m. local time. The aerial picture is clear again. 5 Iranian MiG-29s continue east, now beyond 40 nautical miles with increasing separation. On their radar emissions, they have faded into routine cruise patterns with no further deviation, no second approach. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the immediate threat board is clear, but the review begins instantly. Every second of the interception is replayed. Radar trails scroll back on the digital displays. Heading changes, altitude drops, speed increases, formation splits. Each maneuver is examined without editorial commentary, professionally, methodically. Reproduce the firm engagement event, the tactical action officer orders. The timeline narrows to a 3-second window, 2 seconds of sustained, fire control quality engagement. 1 second more would have crossed the escalation threshold. That's not speculation, that's protocol. Written, trained, and rehearsed hundreds of times. The electronic warfare team isolates the exact waveform of the Iranian N-019 radar during that engagement. Frequency, pulse repetition rate, signal strength. The data is catalogued and archived. Radar fingerprints matter. In modern air warfare, recognition is survival. The next time that radar is activated anywhere in the world, the system will know it before it finishes its first sweep. Up on the bridge, the carrier captain receives the briefing. He listens without interrupting, without raising his voice, without drama. The carrier maintained course. Yes, sir. No deviation. That detail is crucial. Turning under pressure can be interpreted as concession. Overreacting can be interpreted as aggression. Standing firm projects control. It's the most powerful statement you can make without opening your mouth. On the flight deck, maintenance teams are already inspecting the 2 Super Hornets that flew the Intercept. No damage, no contact, just thermal stress on the leading edges from the aggressive maneuvers. The pilots immediately debrief. Describe the dive profile. Request intelligence. The lead pilot explains calmly. Rolled inverted. Nose down. Attack geometry alignment for approximately 2 seconds. If no missile separation was observed, how close? Less than 1,000 yards of lateral separation during the bow cross. The numbers are precise, no exaggeration. This is how the professionals report. Throughout the strike group, escort vessels send their logs. The Aegis systems confirm that the engagement solutions were ready, but no missiles were activated. The SM-2 and ESSM interceptors remained on standby. The sea systems were tracking, but did not fire. It's zero kinetic exchange, but full readiness achieved. That's the definition of effective deterrence. The Hawkeye crew provides altitude charts showing the coordinated descent of the 5 fulcrums prior to maximum approach. It wasn't random, it was structured, testing layered defenses, measuring reaction times, assessing posture under pressure, and the strike group did exactly the same on the return. Every Iranian emission, every altitude change, and every acceleration spike was captured, stored, and analyzed. Intelligence is a two-way street, and the U.S. Navy has better pavement. No immediate public statement is issued in Washington. The absence of headlines is intentional. Not every confrontation requires media amplification. Deterrence often works best in silence. Those who need to know, know. Those who don't, well, that's what channels like this are for. Back aboard the aircraft carrier, operations resume as scheduled. A training draw is launched at 6:10. The flight deck choreography returns to its usual rhythm, but the atmosphere is heavy with memory. Everyone on that deck felt the shockwave when the MiG crossed the bow. Everyone inside the ZIC heard the firm lock tone as the radar transitioned from search to track. They understand how narrow the margin was at 2 nautical miles, and an R-77 launch would have required an immediate response. A missile fired at that distance leaves little room for diplomacy. From lock to launch, less than 4 seconds can elapse, from launch to impact, less than 20. And from impact to unpredictable escalation. That is the territory where geopolitical calculations cease to function and physics takes over. But today, no missile left the rail. The Iranian fighters disengaged before crossing the final threshold. Why? Only their pilots know for sure. Perhaps it was cold calculation. Perhaps the demonstration was completed according to plan. Perhaps they recognized that the strike group remained unfazed. Professional forces understand the limits, test them, approach them, but crossing them changes absolutely everything. And something tells me that when they saw the aircraft carrier didn't turn even a degree, when they saw the Super Hornets didn't break formation, when they noticed that no one in that strike group even blinked, they got the message. The tactical action officer closes the formal engagement report. Point of closest approach 1. 6 nautical miles. Duration of firm radar engagement 2 seconds. Weapons released 0. Pause. Then he adds quietly, result without escalation. That sentence carries immense weight because escalation is rarely noisy at first. It begins in seconds within radar tones, altitude changes, and geometry transitioning from parallel to direct. Today, the difference between confrontation and combat was measured in seconds and in restraint. 5 MiG-29s approached a U.S. aircraft carrier to within 2 nautical miles. They looked. The aircraft carrier never changed course. No flares, no missiles, no warning shots, just absolute presence and professionalism. The ocean remains calm, but everyone on board understands a very simple truth. The next time those 5 radar markers change course simultaneously, the margin may be narrower and the decision window even shorter. For now, the aircraft carrier continues onward, steady at 21 knots. As always, tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what you think of this interception. Was it a masterful standoff, or should a stronger response have been needed? Share this video with anyone who needs to understand how naval deterrence really works. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any analysis. See you next time.